started momentarily. Started momentarily. I've muted YouTube, so there should not be any strange echo now. Well, it is 10:04, so we will get started. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. This is the regular meeting of the Electronic Records Working Group. It is February 1st, 2023. We were meeting via Zoom, web meetings, and YouTube Live. So thanks again for joining us. We have almost the entire group here. Our first order of business will be the roll call. So what I will do is read off our members as I see you on my screen. And if you would unmute and say here or the name of your agency, that will be the most effective way to get through this. So Catherine Estes.
Here for COT.
Graham Gray.
Here for APA.
Mark Polium.
Here for LRC.
Glenn McInich.
Here.
Formerly of KDLA.
Yes. Sorry.
No problem. Shamara Jackson.
Here representing Lexington and Fayette Urban County Government.
Martin Manley. You're muted.
Here on behalf of Office of the Attorney General.
Rob Hill.
Here for KDLA.
Jeremy Foster. I saw that you unmuted. We can't hear you, so I know you're here. Well, he's working on that. We know he is here. Lynn McCroskey.
Here for COT.
All right. That is all of our voting members. We're also joined by Drew Preston, Joe Isaac, Becca Hallmeyer, Catherine Giles, Dave Atha, Heath Reynolds, and Sarah Garrett, all from KDLA. Oh, and Taylor Metzing just joining us, also from KDLA. I think Jeremy will return. We still have a quorum, so we can move forward. The first agenda item is the approval of the October 5th, 2022 meeting minutes. I realize I got these out late, and I hope everyone had an opportunity to look them over. If so, did anyone see any errors or omissions or any issue with them? All right. If not, do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
In a second?
I second.
Go ahead.
I heard Lynn.
Go ahead, Lynn.
All right. Well, I guess we will follow our Robert's rules. All approve, please. All who approve, please unmute and say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. We will mark those as approved. On to agenda item 2 is announcements, and I'll be brief, just with a little bit of what's going on in the electronic records world at KDLA. We are still working to implement the Axiom collection management software suite. We've gone live with it. It is being used effectively by a lot of people, but we're still debugging it, working very closely with the vendor. We've had to migrate the State Archive Center a couple times, but this last time appears to have done the trick. We had some location issues and everything, and but this is, I'm sure, the best possible version of that data at this point. We've whittled it down to just what we need. We are currently working on doing the same for the State Record Center. So it's a monumental task, one, entering all of that information, which was done in a large data entry project by the entire division. And then we are working to clean that data up, as well as what's been migrated from some of our old databases, and it's really taking shape. So Rob Hill is the other admin on this, and he's been helping us quite a bit. So thanks to Rob on that. It's a big part of his day. I'll continue updates, because once everything is smoothed out, that will truly be a massive step for our institution, moving from paper and access databases to slick cloud-based collection management system. Also, KDLA has a new website. It is live now. It's a lot cleaner. You can get pretty much anywhere with fewer clicks, at least a couple. I've tested it. The electronic records page looks very nice, and there are still 2 pages associated with the electronic records working group, this group, one of which is under the commission page, or records management commission, and then working group. Rather than having any other information on there about the group other than the charter or description, list of members, it has a link now to take you to the Understanding Electronic Records Management page, where all of the past documents that this group's created are posted, and hopefully soon our future guidelines. Now, we're going to return to that page, and I can show it to you later, because for our next meeting, we're going to discuss a plan of work for 2023. I will get to that later, but I do want to sort of audit and review as a group what is currently posted on there. Lastly, the quality assurance specialist is vacant right now. That was located in electronic records after our reorg a few years back. Since the things have settled, it is now clear that it is better suited for local records branch. So that position is open now. I think it will be up for a little while longer, but we are working to fill it. It's instrumental in the local records grant process, and QC is our big contribution to that process. So the big takeaway is it's moving from my branch to local records. And that is all I have for announcements. Next, we're on to new business, and I want to open the floor if anyone has anything. It's been a little while since we've met, so if anyone has anything to bring up that you've noticed in the interim, now's a good time. All right. This will be a short meeting, I feel. Agenda item 4 is to discuss the status of our guidelines document. Now, I've done, I searched as recently as yesterday. There's no real movement on the Court of Appeals case, but also we sort of finalized our draft and wanted to put it before the advisory committee. Well, they were unable to meet because they lacked a quorum. So we are now waiting for the next one, which is going to be, is that April? Is that correct, Catherine, or anyone? think it's in April.
This is Shamara.
Yeah.
I know the commission meets in March. We meet March the 9th.
Okay, then,
So-
yeah, so it's in March. And, which is just next month at this point. So, we hope that the advisory can look at this. It's not going to go straight to the commission. I'm sure it will kick back to us with that feedback. And we are, looking forward to that, getting completely fresh eyes on it from very experienced, group of people. So, so that is where we are. It should be reviewed next month, and then hopefully we get there. I'll be present at that meeting to sort of explain it, and then they'll have already read it in the meeting materials, and hopefully that we'll have some excellent feedback, and we can bring that to our not March, but April meeting. That's what I was thinking of, I think. So, does anyone have any discussion for the guidelines? They are, I'll say, pretty locked in that we've included it once as meeting materials for the advisory, and they just couldn't meet. So I don't have any changes necessarily that I want to make right now, but does anyone have any questions or general discussion about it?
I wondered, I didn't seem to have the latest version. Does it have the revisions that we discussed at the meeting where we just approved the minutes?
Yes.
And I didn't get a link to that recently.
Well, the version we have, I will send that out
Okay, good.
to not just you, but everyone
Right.
to be fully aware of the version that's going before the advisory.
Thank you.
Mhm. I didn't include it in this one because I was just going to give an update about where it's at in terms of the next line of review. Anything else about the guidelines document? Okay. In that case, I will move on to agenda item 5, which is the plan of work for 2023, being our first meeting in the calendar year. I wanted to sort of focus up and talk about where we are. We're obviously waiting for review of the guidelines. And pending that, I'm sure we will have more to work on. We don't have to make every recommendation to them, because that could really change the scope of it. But as a group, we can decide what to put forward based on the advisory's scrutiny and specialties, what they specialize in, and then get those implemented, and then decide when to put it before the commission. So that could happen hopefully before our April meeting. I'm going to pull up our new website here and show you the electronic records working group documentation page. Many of you have seen it, I'm sure. So this is the understanding records management page right under records management. It's a much nicer looking format than we just had. It does condense a lot of our electronic records related subjects onto one page, but we have the electronic records working group guidance heading here. And basically this chunk is the previously finalized documentation and guidelines authored by this group. What I'd like to look at first, especially, I'm going to send out the version of the guidelines that we are giving to the advisory to everyone. And right on the heels of that, I'd like you, if you have time between this meeting and next, to look at this email management section. There's 2 documents there that I have looked at. It's pretty basic, and am fairly positive that a version of its contents, both of these are already folded into the guidelines document. And basically, I want other eyes on it to see if anything is worth keeping these documents available to the public. I have a suspicion that our guidelines will fully replace these as guidance, as more recent guidance. But I will also send out a link to this page, and we want to look at the email management, just the 2 documents. And if you have time or just the gumption, we have these records management ones, if you want to go ahead a little bit and look at the other documents the working groups authored. There's guidelines for managing social media, pretty well covered by the new document. Cloud computing guidelines, electronic signature record keeping, and guidelines for responding to open records requests in public records in a database. All of these are getting some age on them, and the ones that we do not that are not replaced with the guidelines need a little bit of an update. So that's sort of what I'm looking at for the plan of work for this year. There's plenty to do. We also have the quick reference version of the guidelines that we could begin working on. I'd like to have it closer to approval, but that is something to keep in the back of our minds. Then it is really just what from the big document needs to be in it. It's going to be a heavily condensed version with probably thoroughly, hyperlinked as well. So does anyone have any thoughts about this? I think all of this is to say we can move forward and work on things while we wait for approval. And I think the email management ones will certainly be a great place to start. Just making sure that there's nothing in them making sure that there isn't anything in them that we want to salvage that is of value that isn't in our guidelines document. So any thoughts about this? So I will send out the links as well as the finalized draft. All right, with that, I'll stop sharing my screen. So it's not on the agenda, but while we are talking, I do want to bring up, does anyone have anything to place on the agenda for next meeting? Obviously, we won't have advisory approval yet, but we can discuss the guidelines again and their relation to these older documents that we just discussed.
Hey, Derek, this is Catherine. I am planning to hopefully make some revisions to the policy memorandum on electronic records, permanent records as electronic. So hopefully I will have that done by the next meeting.
Okay, there is time. So if you do finish that, just let me know and we'll get it on the agenda for discussion. And that's that has become a very important and popular document regarding the iReadable exemption. As people move offices, and we discussed it last meeting, I believe, but it comes up all the time. So giving it its first update in a while is going to be very nice. And we can discuss it if it's finished by then. Any other, I'll open the floor again. Is there any other matters you want to discuss this meeting?
I think if you're talking about the agenda for the whole next year, once we get the guidelines in order, I think there are areas of electronic records management beyond the communications that need to be addressed. I mean, you had cloud computing already on a previous document, and there's lots of examples. At one time in the distant past, we had hoped to have a complete manual for electronic records. That was never accomplished, but working towards that goal of having a more complete package to present to particularly others in state and local government.
Well, the starting point, if we want to author something new, would be on-site digital preservation principles. I'm explaining them all the time. I did an office visit just a couple days ago, and they had all these records. I won't say where. They had all these records on removable hard drives plugged into one machine, and that was the only copy of them. So I had a mini stroke, and then calmly told them, get those onto your server, and then, if they were restricted or at least required like levels of permission. So I was like, work with IT to get those folders locked down, and as the baseline, the bare minimum. So I explain that stuff all the time. So I feel like with this group, that would be a fairly easy one to write because I get the questions, and I know what people haven't heard, because government is very big and we can't this will help us reach more people. So I think digital preservation is top up there with records management. So yeah, that would be, obviously I got excited about it, so that would be a very good thing to start with. So yeah, I agree. My thinking is that cleaning up the stuff that's on the website already will sort of begin to streamline what our offerings are. I think the guidelines, once they're approved, will probably replace 3 of these. Updating rather than creating new ones, I think, will be a faster process. And then, yeah, I'd love to start more guidance that is sorely needed out there. So that's an excellent comment, and we can begin discussion of that and brainstorming, not just the big topics, but how we want to break those up. We can begin discussing that next meeting. It'd be nice to get some fresh subject matter in here. So I'll definitely include that on the agenda. Anything else while we're all here? Okay. With that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Anyone?
Second.
All right. All in favor, please unmute and say aye.
Aye.
I doubt there are any opposed. So thank you all again for coming. I know this was a short one, but we are waiting for our document. So I appreciate it and expect that email from me with additional materials. All right. Everyone have a great month.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.